Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Thursday, February 20th, and we've had some early morning earnings come in from both Walmart and Alibaba and a few others. Walmart disappointed on profit forecasts going forward. Not surprising with all the tariff and economic uncertainty going on. Alibaba, on the other hand, this was a bit of a surprise, and it's jumped significantly in the pre-market. Looks like it's going to open up quite higher on on sales growth, really, and a lot of that coming from its AI developments and investments. So that's I'm not sure how to read that. I mean, obviously, China is developing AI. They had DeepSeek come out. They're doing a lot. Their companies are doing a lot, but their economy is just still really struggling. So maybe if we look at Alibaba as being like an Amazon, where they've got an e-commerce business, but then they also have the cloud business. The cloud business appears to have taken off, and that's good. But I'm not sure where the e-commerce business is. So. Good story overall. It's profitable. It's looking like things are moving ahead for that. In terms of other information and news headlines, we're now kind of moving into the US long-term debt cycle, and there is concerns over long-term debt sales. There's concerns over the size of the US debt. Trump this week has come out and announced multi-trillion dollar tax cuts. That's going to have an impact, obviously, on the amount of revenue that the IRS, the country, takes in that it can use, which it does use, to pay for the majority of its debts. There's talk from President Trump that he'll use the tariffs that he's collecting to pay for that, but that's not really how tariffs work. So most economists and finance people know that. And so that's raising some red flags and some concerns. And so if we look at the three indices, we're in the red going into today. The NASDAQ, the least in the red, really at 0.22% or 48 points. And then the others probably going to hover around this level, maybe pop up to even. I can't predict what's going to happen today, but there's just not a lot of reason for markets to spike today. I think what we're really waiting for is to hear from NVIDIA next week when they announce earnings, and we'll see what comes out of that. Obviously, we have some other earnings between now and then, um, but we need to focus on where the profits are and what the future forecast looks like with these different companies. So if we flip over to the Yahoo Finance app and take a look at where we are, you can see at the top, crude is up at 72.61. Crude's a whole other story. I mean, the crude players, the companies producing oil in the US and drilling for oil are just ultimately, as most of us are at this point, very confused by everything going on in Washington and coming out of the new administration. There's just conflicting messages everywhere and a lot going on to probably just confuse most of us and try to deflect the the interest or the eyes of the public and of the news media to things that aren't really material so that they can get other things done and they can kind of do it under the curtain. So we'll see what happens. And they do it under the veil of transparency, which is rather ironic. So we look at the VIX. The VIX is up 33 points, so it's in the mid 15s. Not so bad. I mean, it's actually at a pretty decent level. And if we take a look down through health and retail, we can see that most of these are pulling back. I mean, Costco. I just can't see how Costco is going to have super earnings and a super forecast. So I think that the market's just seeing that with Walmart pulling back and it's off almost $5. I think Costco is going to pull back as well. I believe it's going to pull back into the 900s by earnings, or if not after earnings. But we'll have to see. Lulu as well, down in the 360s. It got slammed the other day, dropping $24. It was down 5 yesterday, so it's looking for a new bottom. And then you've got Home Depot, which announces shortly, it's in 5 days. It's now under the 400 mark and looking like it's going to drop again today. Nike had a big announcement yesterday with, I believe it's called Slims, the Kim Kardashian brand, and how Nike's going to represent and distribute those. It was direct to consumer initially. I'm not sure if that's still going to stay in place or not, but Nike's going to take on a distribution and marketing role, call them Nike Slims, and that stock really didn't move with that announcement. So we'll have to see what goes on there. Healthcare had a good day yesterday. It looks like it's off across the board today. Transport down yesterday. Oil was up yesterday. It should be up again today with crude futures, but we're seeing a bit of a mixed bag. Some are down. Valero's off 15 cents. I think that'll come back. But most of the others are up and in the green, and that's probably due to crude being almost well above 72 and a half, moving its way to 73 if it continues that upward trajectory. There were concerns yesterday about the price of Ubers and Uber delivery in particular going up to a point where consumers are finding it less affordable. And if it continues to escalate in price and cost to the consumer, then they may stop or use the service less. So that's a concern that hit Lyft yesterday and Uber as well. We'll have to see what happens today with that news, if it has any bearing whatsoever. Applied Materials, Texas Instruments yesterday had a great comeback, up $10. Applied Materials had a good day as well. It looks like it's making a continued recovery today. Micron dropped yesterday, surprisingly. It had a great day the day before. I think we're going to see it pop again. We're still a ways off from earnings on Micron. We're out into the mid-March timeframe. Palantir dropped yesterday on news again out of the White House on on cuts to spending with the Pentagon. And Palantir does provides a lot of services, has big contracts with the government, so that caused that stock to drop 12 bucks. It's down again around 3 today in the pre-market. So might be one to just stay clear of for a little while. CRM is reporting shortly in 6 days. I think we're going to see some positive results out of CRM. CRM's had a bit of a tough year in 2024, but I think it's turned the corner and it's on its way back. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of there. What we really need is obviously the three factor, the trifecta. We need good earnings, we need good revenues that are growing, and we need a good future forecast. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Team down in the 300s now, probably an interesting steal or pickup depending on where this bottoms out. So I'm keeping an eye on Atlassian. They had a great quarter. I think they're going to have another good quarter in Q2. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Um, Microsoft still hovering in the 410 to 15 range. ARM got hit yesterday, which I found interesting. Again, really strong company, and on drops like this, I think it's an opportunity to take a look at buying in because I do believe it's going to recover. We'll see what it does. I think it's really waiting to hear what NVIDIA comes out with, and if NVIDIA really knocks it out of the park, which they didn't in the last quarterly release. So maybe they're going to do it this time. I think ARM will pop on that positive news. We've also got, as we scroll down, any big movers. I mean, Workday comes out in 5 days as well, down in the 250 range. I think it's an interesting entry point there. It looks like it's up in the pre-market from 261 close yesterday. Lam Research, this has been a bit of a sleeper. It didn't have a great year in 2024. It started off like a rock star. It was up above $1,000. It did a 10 for 1 split. So it was in today's stock price dollars, it would have been in the 110, 120 range. And then it just dropped. Finally had a good quarter this quarter, and it's been moving upwards. Just announced it's going to invest $1 billion into a plant in India. So we'll see what translates there. That's years out before that materializes. So although that's news, it's not really going to impact them in the next couple of years from a financial perspective, other than outgoing cash flow to make that investment. But that's been climbing steadily, and it's been climbing steadily, LR RCX when our other semiconductors have been dropping. So when Broadcom and TSM and Applied Materials and some of the others have been moving downwards, this is now caught an uplift. So it'll be this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. It's up almost $3 or 3% in the pre-market there today. And then we've got Tesla. Tesla had an okay day yesterday, and it looks like it's in the green again today. Again, this is an opportunity, I think, to short the stock, if nothing else. Meta's pulled off of its highs. It had a great run over about 19 days, and finally pulling back a little. Not worried about Meta from a stock and company perspective. It needs to pull back and correct as the rest of the market's kind of flat right now. Alibaba had great results. It's up about 11% in the pre-market. They're up $12.20. So that's going to open in the high 130 range, which is somewhere it hasn't been in, I'm going to say 3 to 4 years. So that's a big move for Alibaba. And then as we move down, we also have TSM down in the 200s, but green in the morning session. I think there's a lot of opportunity in TSM, and at 200 or 201, I think it's a bit of a steal. Google as well. Google's slowly climbing up. I know it's off in the pre-market, but it's been making its way back up. I don't know if it's going to get to the 200s in the month of February, but I think by April, we should see it as a 200 to $220 stock. And then we get down into financials. I'm kind of staying away. I'm still staying away from financials. I just think they're overvalued right now. A lot of moves and a lot of opportunities here for sure, but it's not an area that I'm focusing on in the current market that we're in. And as we go through the debt cycle, there's probably an opportunity, the debt sales in the US, for the larger financials to make a fair bit through their bond trading departments and desks. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So that's where we are today. Good luck in your trades. And if you're liking the videos, please hit the like and subscribe button.